Once upon a time, a very long time ago now, about last Friday, Winnie the Pooh lived in a house all by himself, except of course for his friend David Lee.
That's me!
Who lived there too, and who was about to take him on an adventure of a lifetime.
Hello, Dave Lee here. In this very special video, we will be journeying into England's Ashdown Forest for an exploration into our childhood imaginations. While Ashdown Forest was once used as a medieval hunting ground, it is most famously known for serving as the inspiration behind iconic British author A.A. Milne's literary works of Winnie the Pooh and the 100 Acre Wood. Our journey takes us from Cambridge, over London's River Thames, through a number of beautiful, quiet villages and into the heart of East Sussex, 30 miles from the city, where Milne owned a cottage surrounded by vast woodland through which he and his child Christopher Robin Milne would walk and play. The Ashdown Forest was immortalised in Milne's books Winnie the Pooh and the House at Pooh Corner as the setting for the adventures of Christopher Robin, Winnie the Pooh and their friends. The magic of Ashdown Forest, however, was not just captured in Milne's enchanting words, but in the gorgeous artwork of Ernest H. Shepard, who drew the story's illustrations inspired by the beautiful surrounds of Ashdown. Our journey into the 100 Acre Wood today will take us to the places where the real-life Christopher Robin not only played, but where the characters in Milne's stories did too. After a gorgeous 2-hour scenic drive, our first stop brings us just off Chuck Hatch and into Hartfield's Pooh car park, where we will then walk to one of the most recognisable places on Earth. We are now, of course, at the Ashdown Forest. We're walking towards Pooh Bridge, which is very exciting. And of course, we're going to play a game of Pooh Sticks. I'll explain all of that in a moment. Now, to play a game of Pooh Sticks, we of course need to pick up a couple of sticks. As I've heard, there's not a lot of sticks around near the Pooh Sticks Bridge. We're going to pick up some along the way. There's lots and lots of twigs and stuff around here, so we're going to pick up a few on the way to the bridge. This walk along here is just absolutely beautiful, and there's plenty of places here where kids and big kids alike can just sort of play and get lost in the wonder of this place. It's just, it really is just, I'm kind of lost for words. I know we're at the beginning of our trip, but this place is gorgeous. Let's continue on. As you're wandering through the woods, don't forget that there's a whole lot of stuff scattered around throughout here that is sort of aimed to please all the Pooh fans. Over here we found Eeyore's house. I mean, later on we'll find the place that inspired the place where Eeyore lived, but we got Eeyore's house, so I think we've got to check this one out. Okay, so this, of course, isn't exactly it. There's actually quite a number of these spread throughout the forest here. But it's a fun place. Like, we've seen quite a few people hanging around, kids and stuff, playing around in these, and just, it's sort of the nearby little, I guess you can call them attractions, if you want to call them that. Look, it is a lot of fun, and a bit of a fun day out for the family, or anyone who's just a fan of A.A. Milne's works. And just over here, if you look above me, you can see Owl's house up in the trees. I mean, a lot of this stuff like this, it's all done for the tourists. But everywhere else on the rest of this journey is 100% real. Let's keep going. Now, Milne's estate isn't too far from here. It's only about a half a mile west, which is really only about a 10 to 15 minute walk. when Milne and his son would come for a walk into the 100 Acre Wood, they would walk through these lands and over this bridge. And it's here where they invented the game of Poohsticks, which was of course immortalised in the book The House at Pooh Corner, where Winnie the Pooh invented the game and played it with Christopher Robin and his friends, and it's exactly what we're going to do today. I would even go as far as saying that this is one of the most famous bridges in the entire world, even though it is a really, really small bridge. Not only because this is the birthplace of an incredibly popular game for kids all around the world, but because this was also featured in some of E.H. Shepard's most iconic artwork from the entire Pooh series. By the time it came to the edge of the forest, the stream had grown up, so that it was almost a river, and being grown up, it did not run and jump and sparkle along as it used to do when it was younger, but moved more slowly, for it knew now where it was going, and it said to itself, "There is no hurry." But before it could come to the forest, it had to cross this river. So where it crossed, there was a wooden bridge, almost as broad as a road, with wooden rails on each side of it. Christopher Robin could just get his chin up to the top of the rail if he wanted to, but it was more fun to stand on the bottom rail so that he could lean right over and watch the river slipping slowly beneath him. Pooh could get his chin on the bottom of the rail if he wanted to, but it was more fun to lie down and get his head under it and watch the river slipping slowly away beneath him. Well, you know what, Pooh? I think it's time. Play a game of Pooh Sticks. He had just come to the bridge, and not looking where he was going, he tripped over something and the fir cone jerked out of his paw into the river. "Bother," said Pooh, as it floated slowly under the bridge. Then he dropped two in at once and leaned over the bridge to see which of them would come out first, and one of them did. And that was the beginning of the game called Poohsticks, which Pooh invented and which he and his friends used to play on the edge of the forest. How's that, Pooh? I think you won. Or did I win? I'm not sure. Let's move on. A little bit further up from the bridge just there, we'll find one last kind of fun little quirky thing. Is Piglets House. We've got a little door here. He's not home. But this is kind of almost like a little Pooh shrine. People come here and they place their Pooh books, or they write notes to Pooh and kind of leave them there alongside little jars of honey. And I think that's really sweet. I mean, we talk about this place as being real. You read about this place in books as a child, and you come here and it makes them all real. It's almost like folklore, almost like English legends that are real. So people come here and they write notes to Pooh as if he is a real living being. I know you are, don't get too upset about that, but it's quite magical. Now, to get into the real life 100 Acre Wood itself, Milne and his son would trek a little bit further down this way. Well, not a little bit further down, it's actually quite a bit further down this way. Now, I'd love to do the whole trek that Milne and his son would have done almost 100 years ago, but we're feeling a little bit pressed for time today. So we're gonna get back in the car and we're just gonna drive around the corner.
A short drive around the corner brings us past the Piglet car park and into the car park at Gils Lap. It is here where we will find a walking track into our childhood dreams. It's this section of Ashdown where Christopher Robin Milne would spend his days playing with his stuffed toys, accompanied by his father. It is therefore the section of Ashdown Forest that inspired a great deal of E.H. Shepard's most memorable and most iconic pieces of art. And it is here where we will come across a number of places that fans of Milne's works will find incredibly familiar. Walking through the Ashdown Forest today is almost like walking through Shepard's artworks from almost 100 years ago, with scenery that seems somehow unchanged and somewhat so familiar, as if we've walked these paths before. Of course, we have walked these paths before, but in a more spiritual way. The walk to the top of Gils Lap isn't a very long one, probably only about a 15-minute trek, but it's one that can be easily spread out into hours and maybe even into days. But probably not into nights, because you'd want to avoid the heffalumps that I've been told run riot through these parts.
Gils Lap, or Galleons Lap as it's called in the books, is this clump of 63 or 64 trees right behind me. It's described in the book as the enchanted place, and in real life this was Christopher Robin Milne's enchanted place, where he would come with his father here in the Ashdown Forest. Anyone familiar with Milne's work will certainly know of the enchanted place. It's almost like the Oz of the Pooh stories. And to be honest, it's quite astounding to stand right here looking out over the same vistas that not only Milne and his son looked out over, but Christopher Robin and Pooh did. They walked on thinking of this and that, and by they came to an enchanted place on the very top of the forest called Galleons Lap, which is 60-something trees in a circle. And Christopher Robin knew that it was enchanted because nobody had ever been able to count whether it was 63 or 64. Not even when he tied a piece of string around each tree after he had counted it. Being enchanted, its floor was not like the floor of the forest, gorse and bracken and heather, but close-set grass, quiet and smooth and green. It was the only place in the forest where you could sit down carelessly without getting up again almost at once and looking for somewhere else. Sitting there, they could see the whole world spread out until it reached the sky, and whatever there was all over the world was with them in Galleon's lap. You know, it's not hard to tell what Milne was writing about in this place. This really is actually somewhere quite incredible and quite enchanted. And before I came here, honestly, I had planned to finally answer the age-old question that has plagued the minds of readers for nearly 100 years. I was going to run around, I was going to count all the trees in here and finally answer whether there are 63 or 64 trees. But now that I'm sitting here, actually in the spot, reading the passage, it's like, how can I do that? I feel like if I did that, I would be taking away the enchantment of this place. And I feel like I would be maybe ridding the world of just a little bit of wonder and magic, and I can't do that. I can't do that. So we're going to leave it as it is. There is 63 or 64 trees here in Galleon's Lap, just as there always has been. Speaking of trees, this is what is commonly referred to as the Heffalump Tree. This is what is believed to be the site where Pooh dug a hole as a trap for those pesky heffalumps. Now, you will know that in the books, the Heffalump trap was near 6 lone pine trees, not near just one, but down the path of history, it's understood that there may have been 6 pine trees here at one point, and this is all that remains. Or maybe the Heffalump trap was in a different spot. Who knows? It's the Heffalump Tree. As we wander through here, it's almost impossible not to take in our surroundings. According to the Ashdown Forest website, this is the largest public access space in the southeast, and nearly 2/3 of it is heathland. This section is filled with lavender and gorse bush, and it just smells incredible through here. And there's so many gorgeous trees dotted along the skyline as well. There's birch trees where it said that owl lived, and pines scattered across the pasture. Though no one's quite sure which one it was a pine tree that Tigger tried to climb in the house at Pooh Corner to prove that Tiggers were better at climbing trees than Poohs. Our next spot in the 100 Acre Woods takes us down what kind of looks like a little dirt track. This is an old disused sandstone quarry from who knows when. This predates A.A. Milne and Christopher Robin Milne's time in the Ashdown Forest. Let's go take a look. This whole area here is what is described in the book and in the map at the front of the books as Rue's Sandy Place. As I said at the top there, this is a disused sandstone quarry that dates back, I couldn't even tell you when. I tried to do some research, I couldn't figure it out. And it obviously predates the time of Christopher Robin Milne and A.A. Milne. So this was obviously disused then, and this is why it was Rue's Sandy Place. This is where Rue would spend all of his days playing, and where he and his mother Kanga lived, somewhere nearby. It really isn't much of a place, and this is really all the sand that's left. It's not all that sandy now. It's just a lot of vegetation and overgrowth, and I guess it wasn't, almost 100 years ago when Christopher Robin Milne played in here with all of his toys. Again, this is really not much of a place, and that's probably why old Pooh Bear here wasn't all that fond of it. Let's keep going. Not much to see here. This behind me here is Wren's Warren Valley, and it's said to be the site of Eeyore's house. In fact, in the book, it's called Eeyore's gloomy place, and it's described as rather sad and boggy. And, well, the description wasn't all that wrong. There's really nothing out there in that entire valley out there, except for a bunch of trees and it looks like some mud, a little bit of grass here and there. No wonder Eeyore was always depressed living out in that really rather sad and boggy place. It makes me wonder why Pooh and his friends never offered him up a place to stay. I'd be really sad living out there myself. Now, we were actually going to go down there, and so there's like a walking track around there. We were going to go down there. The site of the North Pole is apparently somewhere down there as well when they went on their expedition to the North Pole. But we kind of got lost a little bit. We were supposed to get there from Rue's Sandy Pit, and I think we took the wrong path or something. Does it go anywhere? All right, we are in the tiniest little area here. No, it just stops, doesn't it? This just about marks the end of our journey at the Ashdown Forest today, but there is one more very special place I do want to check out. We finish our visit to the 100 Acre Wood once again up here at the top of this enchanted place. And up here we find a memorial plaque for both A.A. Milne and E.H. Shepard. This spot here was chosen specifically by Christopher Robin Milne as the place to put this plaque, as one of A.A. Milne's favourite places to sit and watch the world go round, and presumably Christopher Robin Milne's as well. And it's also an incredible vista that quite obviously inspired Shepard's own illustrations. The plaque here reads, "And by they came to an enchanted place on the very top of the forest called Galleons Lap. Here at Gils Lap are commemorated A.A. Milne, 1882 to 1956, and E.H. Shepard, 1879 to 1976, who collaborated in the creation of Winnie the Pooh and so captured the magic of Ashdown Forest and gave it to the world." And they really did. I mean, this place is really, really beautiful, and I'm just gonna sit and enjoy the views that were enjoyed by Milne and Shepard and Christopher Robin nearly 100 years ago. Down there, just on the side of this hill here, is the real life 100 Acre Wood, or as it is in real life, the 500 Acre Wood. It is a vast expanse of woodland down there, and though there are public walking tracks throughout it, it is strongly suggested that you don't venture in there unless you are an incredibly brave explorer or have enough sunlight to find your way out. We're sitting here at about 4 p.m. and I don't think we're going to be venturing into the 100 Acre Wood, or the 500 Acre Wood as it were, today. I'm just happy enough to sit here and kind of look at it. And I don't think it's until we kind of get to this point, this really enchanted place, that we realize just how incredibly special this place is. It's like stepping into your childhood dreams and imaginations. And I've been planning this and I have been researching this for a couple of weeks now before I even set foot in here. And still, I don't think I expected to be quite as awestruck as I am right now. I had the stories of Winnie the Pooh and Christopher Robin and all their friends read to me as a young child, and I remember all the stories very, very well. And I grew up watching the Disney cartoons, and to find that this is a real place that is exactly how it was in the books, how it was in my imaginations, is just, it's almost like I know I'm talking a lot, but I don't quite have the words to describe this beautiful place. And the incredible thing is that this has remained practically the same for the last 100 years. It's quite remarkable to think that there hasn't been housing developments, there hasn't been, you know, deforestation or anything like that. This is the 100 Acre Wood that we have read about in those books for almost 100 years. And it's quite incredible that. I feel like I really could just sit here looking out over this forever. I know Walt Disney always encouraged us to never grow up, and I think that is great advice. But if there was any one place in the world to just embrace your childhood and then let it go, it's right here. I see what A.M. Milne meant. This really is an enchanted place. Isn't that right, Pooh?
Quite right, David Lee.
Pooh?
Yes, David Lee.
You can talk?
Why, of course I can, David Lee. I always could. Didn't you know?
Why, yeah, I guess I did. Pooh, while I've got you talking,
Yes?
Pooh,
Yes, David Lee.
I'm not going to do nothing anymore.
Never again.
Well, not so much. They don't let you.
Yes, David Lee.
Pooh, when I'm, you know, not doing nothing, will you come up here sometimes?
Just me?
Yes, Pooh.
Will you be here too?
Yes, Pooh, I will be, really. I promise I will be, Pooh.
That's good.
Pooh, promise you won't forget about me ever, even when I'm 100?
How old shall I be then?
99.
I promise.
Pooh, if I'm not quite... Pooh, whatever happens you will understand, won't you?
Understand what?
Oh, nothing. Come on.
Where?
Anywhere.
So they went off together. But wherever they go, and whatever happens to them on the way, in that enchanted place on the top of the forest, a little boy and his bear will always be playing.
Thank you once again for joining me for this very special video. If you're a first time viewer and you've liked this video, you'd like to see more like this in the future, then please hit that subscribe button down below. Also, don't forget to follow me over on my many social media accounts, and please consider supporting me over on Patreon. Thanks for watching, guys, and I hope you have an enchanted day.